Thank you and Urvi and Tarunu for the insights that you shared previously. That was a very in-depth recap of the Union Budget 2026-27 across the sectors. Now, I would like to take over and I'll introduce myself. I'm Utkarsh Agarwal, Senior Editorial Lead for BW Auto World. And I would like to firstly thank our audience who are watching us live since yesterday on our social media platforms, and to all the panelists who have joined us today to discuss and decode what are the big key takeaways from the Union Budget 2026-27 for the Indian automotive sector.
Very
Now,
bad, Madani.
for this, I've been joined by an eminent panel. I'm joined by Mr. Abhijeet Sinha, Program Director for NHEV and National Program Director, Ease of Doing Business. Mr. Himanshu Arya, Founder and CEO of Luxury Card. Poonam Upadhyay will be joining us shortly, Director of Crisil Ratings. Mr. Ayush Lodhia, CEO of YOUDHA, and Mr. Pratyush Sinha, Vice President of Policy Outreach at LOHUM. Thank you all for joining us today. I would like to go across to all of you. You all heard the Prime Finance Minister speaking yesterday for the budget. How do you read the budget, or what are the big key takeaways for you guys? I'll start with Mr. Sinha, Abhijeet Sinha, if you can start.
Hi, Utkarsh. I hope I am audible and visible to all of you.
Yes, yes, you are.
So I look at this budget as a budget of emerging economies, as a budget of a direction. It's not a budget of uh, giving something in uh, different brackets or different microeconomies, but it is about building new emerging markets. And the second most important thing with this budget is it has came in such a time where the geopolitical conflicts and their considerations are something which we cannot ignore. And if I anchor major two of them, then oil import in a conflicting situation like today is something which we will have to cure. And second is twisted trade tariff, that triple T which we are talking from yesterday, which has given us a heads up that something of this sort can come in next vision also. Bringing both of them together, if you look at budget for oil import, it means it is a call for decarbonization. It is a call for decarbonization for auto sector, for surface transport, for logistic, for mobility, for railway, for freight. So in this, if you look at decarbonization, it requires two basic requirements, two basic expectation. One is a focus on critical minerals, both from the finding, processing, and also to a certain extent then making it into batteries. And budget speaks about both of them. 20,000 crore rupees is for the carbon capture, which essentially gives room for every sector to look into its need and decarbonization plan. And second, exemption on lithium ion batteries components. So if someone willing to create something of this sort, it is going to give them a good push, this budget. Third is critical rare earth element or rare earth materials clusters. 6 or 7 clusters has been announced. So if I look at renewable energy point of view, then hydrogen has got some good improvement. Nuclear has got some considerations. And apart from this, 2,000 crore rupees for carbon capture and exemption into lithium component. It is also speaking about MSME to grow further and create the capabilities which is needed by India. So oil economy and oil side, we are very good. At the other side, if I go twisted trade tariff, it is speaking most about how tomorrow, if something of this sort comes again, what happened in last 1 year with the Trump's twisted trade tariffs, how are we placed? This is something where only government could have done in 2026 because it's a slow solution. There is no magic solution that you can improve your export and you can change the way world order is set. And to make sure that we are not only a product driven economy, we are also a service driven economy. We also have soft skill. We also have knowledge economy, tech economy. It is very important to balance between them. Otherwise, until and unless your export and trade is circular around the product, you will always have this threat of twisted trade tariff. So I look at this budget on a very good mode, good note, and I sum it up as a budget for circular economy, a budget for clean economy, green economy. Huge adjustments, huge improvements that government could made this year, which was not available in last 1 year. Last year also there was an expectation that there would be a significant announcement, but I could not see numbers in last year, though intent was there that taxonomy will come and much more will be available. But
Mhm.
in this year, apart now, I'm moving to green energy where 19,500 crore for renewable expansions. This
Mhm.
was very much needed because we were running ahead into our renewable targets, but
Mhm.
mobility industry alone is going to put a demand in front of renewable energy, and this would not been possible if there are no allocation to it.
Mhm.
8,300 crore rupees for clean air west and MSME. And there is another 5,000 crore rupees for mobility within the city, infrastructure within the city, and another 4,000 crore rupees for seven high speed rail corridors. So it speaks about mobility. Government has taken a note that people
Mhm.
are not happy with what mobility we are offering them. There
Mhm.
are huge infrastructure spent which government has done into last 10 years from 2014 to 2024, but
Mhm.
still half an hour of rain and
Mhm.
Delhi, Gurgaon, and many other. It's not only a story of Delhi, Gurgaon. Bangalore
Mhm.
is moreover same. Chennai is moreover same. So, what is the outcome? How much ease of mobility is reaching to people is
Mhm.
something government has noticed, and a 5,000 crore rupees allocated for
Mhm.
intra-city, not the intercity, in
Mhm.
the construction and the manufacturing side. And last but not least, semiconductor and MSME productivity funding.
Mhm.
Semiconductor is something which automobile industry wanted, chip industries wanted, and many more who are dependent on semiconductor. And this gives a very strong climate signal. Though into electric vehicle EV sector for electrification, 2,500 crore rupees separately has came for
Mhm.
EV battery ecosystem scaling, charging
Mhm.
infrastructure, and
Mhm.
going ahead. I think emission and 45% emission intensity by 2030. It has came as an intent. It has not came with an
Mhm.
outlay. So to me, it looks like a beginning budget, which is indicating to circular economy, green economy. It is
Mhm.
also indicating a pathway where India's national master plan, Viksit Bharat National Master Plan, is first time visible in India in numbers. Earlier it was a talk, earlier it was a conversation, intent, very strong intent, though I'd say. But this year, when Government of India has clearly announced a tax holiday till 2047 for a company which is setting up their cloud and their artificial intelligence data centers, it
Yes,
really
absolutely.
speaks in numbers. So to me,
Absolutely.
it's a budget of emerging technologies, emerging economies, and also circular and green economy.
Budget of emerging technologies. Thank you for so much for the in-depth insights into the budget. And Poonam has also joined us. Poonam, now though the budget has quietly touched upon everything that powers this industry, from semiconductors, rare earth corridors, to the clean mobility fuels that we will see in the future. But how do you read the budget? What are your initial impressions? Do you find this budget positive, neutral, or underwhelming?
So I would say Abhijeet ji has already touched upon almost all the points.
Yes.
Uh, See, purely if I have to talk from just from the auto sector perspective, because that's what we wanted to look at, I would
Yes.
still say this budget is still quite a positive. There are no big bang announcements, but then it
Mm.
is still, so from that perspective, one can say that it is neutral on an immediate demand side.
Mm.
If there is anything specific about the EV demand that has come in to spurt that, again, there is
Mm.
nothing specific. But then, if someone were to look at, the support has been coming it from a calibrated approach under the
Mm.
PME drive scheme throughout the year as the
Mm.
conditions in this segment evolved. And then
Mm.
apart from that, what we also saw that the demand was support has already come in from some of the measures like GST rationalization that help the sector revive on the demand side, and which is already visible from the numbers that are coming for last 4 months that we are seeing. So I would basically say I think the government's approach has changed. The government has moved away from moved more towards, I would call it as a continuous policy approach instead of waiting, for the budget day to announce everything when it comes to not just auto but in overall sector, I would say. And hence I think we should change our lens and we should start looking at this budget as one of the step in the ongoing policy processes and no more as a one day event that we have been looking in the past. So if I have to just summarize, like sir already talked about, budget is emphasizing on strengthening four aspects: manufacturing, localization, future mobility, and definitely the infrastructure. Because all these four counts will have its own implication impact on the auto sector. So one can say that it will not deliver an instant demand, but definitely it will ensure that the sector will continue to see a steady and sustainable growth over the medium term. That's how I will sum up. I mean, like how I see this budget that came in yesterday.
All right, thank you. Coming to Mr. Lodhia, to you, how do you read the budget? As Poonam also mentioned, that the government has already announced the GST rationalization in the last year in September, but that didn't affect the EV industry much. But the mismatch between the EV GST on the EV batteries and the electric vehicles is still a concern. So, how do you read the budget?
So, as such, if you see from the overall perspective, the budget has been very positive, as Mr. Abhijeet and Ms. Poonam rightly pointed out. There are a lot of aspects which are being covered in this budget. Specifically, if you talk about from electric vehicle industry, like government has made their point very clear that the industry has already reached to a station, reached to a location where there doesn't need any further subsidy. And that's what we can clearly see. There was no increase in electric vehicle subsidy budget. There is no specific talk about how the sales can be driven in the market. No incentive on that side. But the focus is more on the battery side, which is almost 50% of the vehicle cost. So government is very clear that they want to ensure the supply chain from both the battery lithium ion cell side or from the key like materials are concerned, whether you talk about rare earth or all those components. So government is very clear that they want to develop the supply chain. They don't want to depend on imports of different materials or battery cells, lithium cells. So that is a positive side when it comes to electric vehicle. And it is also very clear, as rightly mentioned, that there has been dedicated talks or speech about the all the semiconductor components, all products related to the battery, like whether the capital goods imports are concerned or the machinery for battery manufacturing is concerned. And definitely about AI side, they have talked about the storage systems and all those things. So for sure it is going to affect directly indirectly electric vehicle also, so that because it is all talking about renewable energy and the future aspects, how India can turn renewable, less usage of fossil fuel or carbon emissions can be utilized in a better format. So all those things are positive on one side. The only thing which we anticipated for electric vehicle is one area which was still untouched was the retail finance side. We was expecting and we are asking for this retail finance support to make it priority in electric vehicle, even if they have reduced the subsidy. If they would have just helped electric vehicle industry by make it in under priority lending, then it would have really helped the industry in a big way, because every vehicle sold, almost 90-95% of vehicles sold in automotive industry are through finances, and finance plays a very important role. So if they could have just put electric vehicle under priority lending, it could have definitely benefited the industry by large. So that is a most important point which I requested, and in fact we anticipated that some kind of hope will come from that sector.
Thank you. You made very
Around the
important
budget looking
points.
fine. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Pratyush, if I can come to you, being an important player in the battery recycling ecosystem, and our Minister for National Highways and Road Transport, Nitin Gadkari, has also been focusing majorly and has stressed previously also on the battery recycling. Were you expecting anything from the budget around this area?
Hey, Utkarsh. No, I think overall for recycling, the government has put in a lot of work over the last 1 year, over the last couple of years, in fact. So on that front, we weren't expecting any major reforms as such, but I believe there's been an announcement on the reduction of TCS to 2% on scrap. So we'll await further details on that. But that is something that could certainly be of interest. But what has been of interest is more on the, as my other panelists have mentioned, on the supply side. For us, the way we look at budget is it's more of a budget of value addition and supply chain security. And value addition is what I would term as the key word for this. The government had announced plans for semiconductor missions earlier, for electronics earlier. Now the component ecosystem is being given an additional thrust. Similarly, the semiconductor ecosystem is being given additional thrust. And similarly, the critical minerals ecosystem is being given an additional thrust. So one of the very interesting announcements that has been made is around duty exemption on capital goods for critical minerals. And again, this will feed into recycling as well. But in general, one of the reasons why Indian companies might have some sort of competitive issues is on the upfront capital investment, where a lot of the equipments are in fact manufactured in China or Japan, particularly when it comes to niche critical minerals and when it comes to high scale operations. And that's where some of the competitive edge is with China. And by removing this duty, that helps Indian players become a bit more competitive. There's also been an announcement for chemical parks, which again will indirectly support the critical minerals industry, the advanced materials industry, and the recycling industry. So I think there's been a lot of very specific intervention that has been made with the idea to increase the value addition in India across various different sectors, starting from materials and looking at a circularity point of view. So I think that way it's been positive, and it's been a continuation of what we've seen in the previous budgets and in previous policy announcements.
All right. Mr. Arya, if I can come to you, how do you read the budget from the pre-owned car industry perspective? The government has recently signed an FTA with the India EU as well. How does that affect, and were you expecting any more clarifications in the budget for the industry as well?
Okay, so last year was quite eventful. The first event being the reduction in GST. That saw immediate jump on the consumer side in terms of demand. Last week we saw the FTA coming in. A lot of misinformation though online. With respect to reduction in car prices, which is not happening. The way misinformation was spreading. But overall, a very positive move. The government is taking the right steps to rationalize costs for the end consumer. One form of subsidy still continues from the state authorities in terms of, making the road tax zero for electric vehicles in a lot of states. So that continues, with respect to the EV adoption. Where India is headed, and when I look at the budget is becoming independent on every aspect. We still have a lot of dependence on rare earth metals, semiconductors. So a lot of push is coming, from the government side to make India independent, so that we are not, impacted much by this global chaos that's going on at the moment. And I think in the near term we'll continue to, be there, the way overall geopolitics is evolving, globally. So I'll say the budget is more or less neutral. The government is taking the right steps and not waiting for budgets to do big announcements. Those are happening in parallel. From my expectation perspective, I wish and government should intervene from a policy framework perspective of making one country, one road tax, which is different for different states. That really impacts the pre-owned car market because of the different tax slabs in different cities, and you can't drive other state vehicles in other states. So if that comes in, I think that would be a big boost to my industry. And I don't have much expectations, but I'll say, the framework should be solid and should be fixed. It should not keep on changing. I think that's what is disturbing for most of the businesses.
All right. So all the panelists have spoken and given their first impressions of the budget. Very mixed reactions coming in. Somebody said very positive, somebody said neutral, and some highlighted what were they expecting. But Mr. Abhijeet Sinha, if I can come to you, the EV adoption is growing, and the major concerns with the electric vehicles still remains the charging infrastructure and the range anxiety. How do you see that? How do you read that? Were you expecting any clear policies? Because previously, as well, before the budget, when I was speaking to the industry players, they were mentioning that they were seeking some long term clarities around the policies rather than short term gains. So, how do you see that?
See, if you look at electric vehicle, there are two ecosystems, one which is into city, another one which is on the highways. When
Yes.
you look at highways ecosystem, then you require resilience and you require to put on certain amount of confidence into both passenger vehicle segment and also into freight vehicle segment. Over a period of time, whatever charges and whatever growth of infrastructure has happened on highways, this could not create that level of confidence, particularly to freight or bus or to fleet operators. And it zeroed down to the onus of adoption on individual people to buy cars and use it intercity without having that confidence. It will only come when we will understand that going forward in the tech journey, vehicles range is going to increase. And when vehicles range are going to increase, ultimately you will have a range where you will not need charger here and there after each 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 kilometer. You will at least need a charger after 100 kilometer. So instead of making lot of efforts to make chargers who does not work, it is better to make one charging station after 100 kilometer, which never disappoint you. And that is where National Highway Electric Vehicle starts. And it has done, I think, a very good amount of work to make sure that after each 100 kilometer, if there is a station with 36 plus chargers, it will not disappoint. It will give you uptime. It will give you a charge. But at the same time, it requires a huge amount of battery. And that battery is something without which you cannot keep the wind power, solar power, and maybe if you have grid, which is charging batteries for dispensing when grid power is not available, it all zero down to having an amount of battery on these stations. So this budget, when we speak about, is giving a clarity on how battery industry has to grow. It is a huge push to such one station of National Highway EV is around 3.2 megawatt. So you can understand it has 36 charger in the beginning. It has capability to go up to 72 charger. So I look at this ecosystem as an ecosystem for confidence, for resilience. We don't want people to buy vehicle. Particularly, I'm not against the transition, but I'm more into giving them ease of mobility. That if they don't own a vehicle, then also they get a bus for intercity ride. They get a car, electric car for their intercity and staycation and holiday needs, electric cars. And these cars and trucks, they have that confidence to run between cities depending on these infrastructure. Plus freight. And freight is something where you cannot talk ambitions. You have to be very, very realistic to give hard to abate sectors option which is less in cost and confidence which is needed for them to do that transition, to take that call, to issue that check that okay, we are entering into it. In this today's scenario is very, very critical. If we fail to create such ecosystem, what we have created as of now in last 7 to 8 years, all infrastructure of electric mobility, be it a small company or big company, PSU or government paid or government purchase charger, 98% of them, they are into losses. So the next generation, which is looking into large ticket infrastructure, large ticket investment into electric mobility infrastructure, is definitely going to take call with the previous investors that what is your break even, what is your utilization. And if we do not create a case of proper, at least not profit, but at least an earning pattern, then we will lose this case. And that is where National Highway EV is placed to make profitability. And last thing which I wish to add is government has been expecting a lot from industry. Government has been expecting that you get your land on the highway. You also get timely connection from the discoms. Then you also secure your site. You do the access. These all are super expectation. Private companies, fleet operators, charge point operators, they'll not be able to do it. So our goal from the beginning was to release two people from their responsibility. We do not want people to buy car and buses, that I have told you, but we also do not want companies to get into land acquisitions. So consider it's a co-working space after each 100 kilometer, 5 acre in size, 4 times bigger than a petrol pump, with all amenities. Land is procured for you. Power of 3.2 megawatt is there. You can set up 32 plus charger there, 35 we place there. And last, the excess amenities, security, food court, two-wheeler, three-wheeler showroom, this all almost in a small terminal airport is there. Now your business, your fleet operation, your charger, what business you do, we are least bothered about. It's a co-working, it's a pure co-working space setup. This was needed, and for this we had two major expectations from budget. One is infrastructure require huge capital investment, and 1.5 lakh crore rupees for a 50 years interest-free loan from central government to state government was announced last year. It is not yet fully utilized by state governments for this infrastructure, and it required a PPP mode. And I'm sure that there was no further allocation was needed this year because previous साल का ही अभी utilized नहीं हुआ. And second is what we needed is vehicle to vehicle communication, because all this infrastructure is earning. They all have to build a revenue.
All right, I'll come to this vehicle to vehicle communication just a while because we are short on time, and I'll go across to other panelists as well. Mr. Lodhia, you heard Mr. Sinha as well. He talked about the realistic on-ground reality. Now, there has been a clear push for the clean mobility with the semiconductor mission 2.0, rare earth corridors, and the lithium-ion battery localization. So, how do you see from intent to actually execution? How much time will it take for the execution?
So definitely India is at a stage where right now they can focus, and all the entities, government initiatives can ensure that the process to be self-reliant, being into battery space, battery charging space, or as a circular economy, if you talk about, all those things are getting in place. We have seen a lot of startups are coming in already. Big companies, big institutes like Alliance, JSW are already planning to get into battery manufacturing. So those all kind of ecosystem are definitely getting into place. So what I feel overall from long term perspective, we see future looks promising. We have been very slow in the progress, that is for sure. We need more aggressive outlook on electric vehicle to make sure that we achieve our target 2047, and then our Paris Agreement, whatever the case could be. So those kind of things we need to definitely focus on, keep improving our manufacturing facilities, further growth on new technologies. These are the important areas which need to be looked at.
All right. Poonam, how do you see the investments and the cash flow moving in the industry now post the budget with all this clarification towards the clean mobility? Do you see companies investing more towards the clean mobility rather than the E20 fuel or the ICE vehicles, where also we are seeing some of the push, but where do you see the investments flowing?
Okay, so I'll not really get into that specific part, but what I would actually say is, what the investments would really look like, because that is something I leave it to the industry experts out over here. But from a larger perspective, if you ask how will the investment sentiments look like, I think one should see it to be much more confident after this budget. I don't expect it to be any kind of a euphoric investment that suddenly a huge amount will get invested in any of these segments, because this budget is what we really heard yesterday. It's not about pulling in capital through any short-term incentives that may get announced. That is something, a very clear message that has come from this budget. Instead, what it has done is it has improved the comfort around some long-term policy directions which the government is focusing on, and that is far more important, if you ask me, for the entire larger auto as well as when it comes for the EV investment, be it on the rare earth, be it from the electronic component manufacturing scheme, setting up these corridors, incentivizing or doing away with the biofuel, the biogas part. All of that is something, which is talking about a long-term direction where we would want to invest. So investors can, from this budget, definitely draw a greater confidence when it comes to they channelizing or planning themselves, be it on the manufacturing front, be it someone having the intent to get into a localization aspect, or focusing on the clean mobility, or for that matter, someone wants to become supply chain resilient. For any of these four larger aspects, I think they have much more confidence today to plan some long-term commitments. But that no demand-driven bets is something is what I'm expecting. So near-term capital, in short, if I have to say, will still remain very selective. A very clear focus on execution capability and definitely the balance sheet strength. But what will happen over time is, as these policies becomes more clearer, there are definitive times which starts get announced. Capital will start flowing in gradually, but definitely nothing is something that I'm expecting will happen in next 1 to 2 years immediately.
Okay. Mr. Arya, as Poonam also mentioned, nothing's going to happen immediately. It'll take around 2 to 3 years. And we are seeing that a push not just only for the electric vehicles, there's been a push for the ICE vehicles. Government has been promoting the E20 fuel as well. How do you read that direction? Where is the government heading?
I think the way electric started and the whole subsidies came in, everyone wanted to do electric, but eventually, most of the manufacturers realized that this is not the direction which is going to give them long-term profitability. So
Yes.
a lot of rollback has already happened on that front. India's largest player, decided not to jump on that bandwagon. Maruti Suzuki did jump on the electric bandwagon. On the alternate fuel front, E20 blending is the latest thing that has been seen. Hydrogen technology still remains unclear or non-viable, or how commercially viable would that be, is still not clear. So I think from the manufacturer's standpoint, everyone is just waiting for the technology to get better, for the technology to get clearer. Is electric the only way forward? Definitely not. Is ICE engines the only way forward? Definitely not. I think we're going to see a mix of everything in future to come, and everything is going to stay. Electric can't be the only mode for sure, because charging infrastructure in such a diverse country like India, is going to be a challenge. 50% of the cars still in India get parked on the roadside, so they're not going to go back home and charge them at home. And the private infrastructure to charge vehicles is still developing, except for the main highways and the metros. You go to any other place today, electric is very far. So I see this taking time. Manufacturers are going to take their own sweet time for the overall infrastructure to be developed. That's when we'll have a clear direction in terms of which choice of vehicles will take up the future.
Okay, so we're going to have a choice of vehicles, multiple technologies in the future. So before ending this panel, I would like to take everybody's last word. If you all could describe the budget in one word, what would that be? I'll start with Mr. Pratyush Sinha. Has the budget been for the Indian automotive industry?
So as I said, I think the budget is about value addition, and the idea is how do we add value domestically, and through that probably reduce the cost and make end products more affordable for the end consumer. So that's what the budget has been about.
Okay, Mr. Abhijeet Sinha, if you can describe the budget in just few words or just a word.
You are asking me from the auto perspective or overall?
Yes, auto.
Okay, so from auto perspective, budget has missed ICE engine and CAFE norms, which was very, very much important. But from the other side, in terms of modernization of mobility, particularly the transport, it looks like a budget with a good intent and good direction. It is not giving direction. It is not giving big ticket announcement. But this year in AI Summit, India AI Summit, you will hear a couple of very large ticket announcement, which would have automobile sector in trend. I wanted more time to discuss about V2V, but in perspective of time, we will keep it some other way.
Yes, definitely. We would like to discuss that some other time. But Mr. Lohia, if you can describe the budget in just a few terms for the Indian.
I think this budget is again focusing on supply chain for electric vehicles. That is the whole idea. That's why we see a lot of incentives for corridors for manufacturing of rare earths, battery ion cell manufacturing. So it is more on the supply chain focus for the backward integration, so that we can have more secure, future. That's all I can say.
Mr. Arya, if you can describe the budget.
I think it has been a very obvious budget. No big announcements, but the obvious things have been given budget. For me, it is a very neutral budget. I think business goes on as usual for everyone.
Okay. Poonam.
I would say, I think from the auto side, the focus was very much on the semiconductor mission 2.0. Two key announcements that really happened over here. Definitely from the ECMS perspective, where the incentive amount has been kind of doubled, and definitely setting up this corridor for the rare earth minerals or the critical minerals, so to say. So I would say definitely somewhere on the larger side, the goal is very clear to align ourselves with the broader government's agenda of Atmanirbhar. So I would put it that way as the budget for the auto sector.
Okay, so very mixed reactions coming in from all the panelists over here. But I would like to thank all the panelists for joining us today and giving us all the insights. And you can log off now. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.